Did you know that Michael Douglas and Danny DeVito were roommates at UC Santa Barbara?
That's a lot of drugs.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah.
I bet you Danny DeVito would get you good ones. Too.
I bet those guys had a blast.
Yeah. It's probably why he stayed so short, too. No?
What?
No, nothing. All right. We'll take a quick pivot
doing
now.
drugs when he's like 10?
Yeah. Stunted its growth. Just got to start early. Don't you remember back then people died younger? We're going to go to the amazing Kirk Henderson of Mavs Moneyball, who predicted a 4-1 series between the Mavs and the Timberwolves. But it was 4-1 one way or the other, so I can't give him too much credit. And he's fresh off of jury duty or jury selection. I guess we should probably start there. How did you get out of it?
Just answered the questions that were put in front of me.
Truthfully and honestly?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we were talking about this, and I said you just would show up and you're like, I don't know, but that guy looks guilty to me. And then just, I don't know what's going on here, but guilty. And that should just get you out because what would it have been? What was going through your mind? Mavericks NBA Finals start on Thursday, and you may be like sequestered for a jury instead of covering the Mavericks in the finals. Did that thought cross your mind?
Oh, it's absolutely crossed my mind because Thursday morning I have to drive to College Station for a vet appointment for my dog, and that's the day of the finals. So I'm going to be in the car all day long, get back covering this game. So if you see me on the internet about 2 in the morning, just know I've been up like 22 straight hours and probably have enough caffeine in me to kill a horse.
Which is why we're glad you're here on a Tuesday before we get you that caffeinated. All right, looking ahead, we had John Corrales on covering the Celtics yesterday, previewing it kind of from the Boston side of things. When you look at this series in a Dallas-centric 30,000-foot view and then kind of walk us down, where do you start?
It has to be it's just such a styles makes fights kind of matchup in an even more distinct way than the Minnesota Timberwolves. So part of why I thought the Mavericks would beat the Timberwolves is the Minnesota they couldn't play offense. Like they could defend fine, they couldn't score. The Celtics do not have that problem, as evidenced by their, I think, like historically amazing net rating and point differential. So this is such a different look, whereas I want to say the two teams are like an inverse in terms of the number of two-pointers they take versus the number of three-pointers they take. And so the Celtics just have this uncanny ability to absolutely run you off the floor if they get going. And how the Mavericks limit that is going to be very interesting to me and sort of frightening from a before the series perspective, just because I don't see exactly how they do it. They gambled that the Oklahoma City Thunder shooters were fake, and they were correct. I believe all of the Boston Celtics shooters are real. They have like 9 guys that can shoot in the 40s. It's going to be really fascinating to see what Jason Kidd cooks to come up with to see how to stop this team.
You know, one thing that I've been kind of just racking around in my brain is who and how are the Celtics going to defend and throw at Luka Doncic? Because they have options and they have a lot of variety on that defensive end of the floor. How do you see this playing out with who's going to take the Omen's work on taking on Luka on the defensive end of the floor for Boston?
So there was a Heath Ledger movie that I watched with a number of girls back in high school called A Knight's Tale. And in that movie, there's a scene where the chief antagonist says, "How would you beat him?" referring to Heath Ledger as a person jousting. And the guy responded back to him with a stick while he slept. And I think that's how you defend Luka Doncic. You don't. There is no defense of Luka Doncic. If he can break apart the Wolves defense, he can break apart the Celtics defense. Now, I think what they do have to do is they should really dare to make him a scorer. Mm-hmm. Despite the prognostications that he wants to be James Harden and always needs to score, Luka wants to pass. So I quite candidly think you let him score. You let him tire himself out on offense. You make him work for it. But if he puts up 42 and you're able to hold the Mavericks to 104 points, I think you can walk away with that because it's very likely then that the Celtics can score 112 and a win. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So do you look at that Drew Holiday and Kyrie Irving matchup as kind of the one that this series kind of hinges on for Dallas? Is that how effective can Kyrie be in being that secondary scorer?
Yes, and really when those spots come. I was listening, I think it was Hoop Collective, but somebody made the point that it's not like Kyrie kills you all game long.
No.
What Kyrie does is has like 3 to 4 minute bursts where he looks like he's absolutely invincible. And how do you limit those bursts, or can you prevent them to begin with? I mean, the Thunder certainly did it. I really wonder if they drape someone like Jaylen Brown on Kyrie and say, just, block out the sun, make sure he doesn't get the ball, make sure he can't do anything. And that would be part of it. I'm very interested to see – the Celtics do not give up corner three-pointers. The Mavericks generate a lot of corner three-pointers. So if the Celtics are giving up or blocking off the corner threes from the Mavericks, does that mean the Mavericks have free reign at the rim and at the paint? The Pacers certainly did, and I think the Mavericks' lob threats are better than Miles Turner. So if that's one area the Mavericks can exploit, I hate to be ridiculous about this, but these Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford dunks have the same feeling for me as watching like a Steph Curry three-pointer. Like, it's a little bit demoralizing. Because at a certain point, you're like, well, what do we do? And so that would be the counterpoint if the Mavericks are to keep up is can they get in the lane? Can they score at the basket? And, Kyrie is going to be an X factor, but I don't know if he's going to be the secondary, kind of like the main thing that would keep the Mavericks from winning if he's not able to perform.
One of the questions that John Krause kind of posed before answering it himself yesterday, again, we're talking to Kirk Henderson of Mavs Moneyball ahead of the Mavs Celtics NBA Finals, was that who does Luka guard? And Luka's reputation as a defender certainly took some hits early in his career for sure, and I think he's redeeming that a little bit, particularly more so as being a disruptor in these playoffs. But when you look at what he is going to do in this series, how does Kid devise a way? Because he hasn't really had to pick up a number one offensive threat, and you're going to try to hide that as much as possible. But with Tatum and Brown, he's going to have to spend some time on them, at least some part. So how does Dallas kind of counterpunch that?
I mean, I don't know if you do. I think you have to ask Luka, hey, superstar, Mr. Future Face of the League, stand on your own two legs and guard. You're 6'8". You're a big-bodied, strong guy. Go out there and defend a little bit. He's done it this playoffs. The notion of isolating him is not new. He has been attacked his whole career. The question is, does he do it whenever it really matters? Does he defend? And the answer is yes. And so there's regular season tape where you watch the guy sort of give up. Well, there's 82 games, and I think Luka always believes he can get the points back on the other end. I think if you really go to targeting Luka being the center point of your offensive attack, that might come at the detriment of the flow of the offense.
What you had a great quote the last time that we had you on when you said Jason Kidd isn't the 82 game coach, he's the 16 game coach. And in the NBA playoffs, you see over these series where his impact has really come out. What do you think that the next counterpunch that this Dallas team has heading into the NBA Finals?
Ooh, I don't know. I think them winning game one was very important, and Kidd almost seemed surprised that they won game one against the Minnesota Timberwolves. I mean, when you're on the road, you're not expected to win, and the Mavericks have played every single playoff game. They've won one game one, and it was in 2020 in the bubble, which doesn't really count, before they beat the Minnesota Timberwolves. Back to that, the last time they had won a game one was during their 2011 title series. So a lot of times these game ones are really, if you can get ahead in the count, I think that gives everybody, a lot of breathing room. And I don't believe this will actually happen, but I hope that the Mavericks would go out and throw whatever kitchen sink twist they have early. Because I think you have to get ahead of the count on this Celtics team. Now, the Mavericks, unless I'm mistaken, have won 9 road playoff games so far. I don't think they care about playing in Boston. But still, you would like to go ahead and try to win, 4-7 and not 4-6. So I'm hopeful that they come out with a little bit of a surprise, because as much as I believe in the Celtics team's greatness, I also think they haven't really been challenged in the way that the Mavericks will challenge them.
On that note, looking at this Celtics team, watching them play in person and then watching them through the playoffs, the thing that has always stood out to me is that when they're playing their best version, of themselves. They are a machine. But when you get them out of their drive and kick and you actually force them to do something outside of that comfort, that cushion, that's when they've looked vulnerable against Indiana. That's when they've looked vulnerable in series. What is the thing that Dallas can do to get them out of that? Is it to speed things up? Is it to grind it down?
No, it's to speed it up and to put them on their heels and to play with pace. Luka downhill, it's not quite LeBron James because LeBron is obviously an unbelievable athlete. But I believe at this point in their respective careers, Luka might be the finest half-court basketball player that we've ever seen. That said, why not use him going downhill early and often? So I think the Mavericks do have to push the pace a little bit on this one. It's where they've had a lot of their success, but a lot of that has come off of their defense. And the question is, can they slow the Celtics down enough to actually get the ball moving back the other direction?
You can go either team on this one, but who's going to win the J.J. Barea Pain in the Ass award that ends up coming through for his team that everybody's watching going, oh, my God, I can't hate him. I can't like him. I hate him so much. But if he's on your side, you absolutely love him.
Ooh, that's a really good one because the Mavericks don't really have, in my mind, anybody past Luka that's particularly like face punchable. They have a bunch of they have a bunch of like nice stories. You know, you got Derrick Jones Jr. who's on a minimum contract deal. You got Jaden Hardy, who is a guy playing so ahead of his skis right now. Dante Exum is a real interesting story. I think he might actually get some more useful burn this series. I mean, maybe Tim Hardaway, but I think if Tim Hardaway plays in the series, things have gone way sideways for the Mavericks.
All right, Kirk, you nailed the prediction last time. Which way are you going this time?
Oh, yeah, we're just going to stick with it. Mavs in 5. Let's do it.
Hey! Love to see it. That's Kirk Henderson from Mavs Moneyball. Kirk, thanks for taking some time for us, brother. We appreciate you. We'll check back in with you over the next 2 weeks as the series progresses.
Yes, sir.
All right, appreciate you, buddy. Take care. Again, that's Kirk Henderson of Mavs Moneyball. And again, John Corrales on yesterday of the Boston Sports Journal. Both guys presented the cases very well for why each team could both win and lose. And it was interesting. I was talking to Kirk last night about this, and we were kind of going back and forth over this series and what's the thing that can be exploitable. And I think we both landed on the foot being put down by Luka. Just doesn't matter who's guarding you. If it's Drew, whether it's White, whether it's Jalen, whether it's Tatum, you can make, as much as they're talking about making Luka work on the other end. Look, I have talked to guys up and down the league in the NBA who have guarded Luka Doncic, and that man wears you out.
And I think the key into this series might be how much can you make him work on the other end of the floor, right? Because that's where he saves himself.
Yeah, he picks and chooses, and there's moments where he can look around the floor and go, okay, the Jays are off the floor. Means Drew and White are going to have to carry the offense, which means they have to work a little bit harder. They can't hunt the thing that they really want, which means I can maybe relax a little bit on this rotation here, and maybe instead of really pressing up on a guy, I could get the passing lane, get a steal, be a little bit more of a disrupt. I say this, and I think people just kind of like nonchalant, like, oh yeah, no, he's a basketball supercomputer, and people probably maybe missed what Kirk said about Luka being the most dominant half-court player on the planet right now. He's not wrong.
Yeah.
Even more than Jokic. What Luka has been doing and has done in his career in the playoffs, offensively, he's a savant. And it's like he's inevitable. He's Thanos. It's his size and his strength and his just constant wear. It's such a difficult thing. That's why I picked Dallas.
Yep.
Because he's the best player in the series, and historically, the best player in a series wins. Now, every now and then you get a situation where the Mavs pull off the upset, but it's not because they didn't have a great player or they had a great team. It's because Dirk was
unbelievable,
unreal. One of the most insane runs we've ever seen in NBA history. So I'm really excited for the series, and thank God it's going to be here quick, fast, and in a hurry.
We only got 2 more sleeps. 2 more sleeps, and then we get the NBA Finals.
My goodness.
Let's go.
Hey,
I got another roommate combo that you did not see coming.
Oh?
Jason Siegel and Kevin Hart were once roommates together.
They go to college together?
No. In 2001, Judd Apatow had wrote a sitcom that would star both of them.
And neither of them were famous yet.
Neither of them were famous. He wanted them to live together to get chemistry.
Get the rapport.
And so in 2001, they were roommates. Obviously, it didn't go well. Neither did the pilot of the TV show because I'd never heard of it.
Never heard of it, yeah.
So there's another celebrity roommate combo.
That's a rabbit hole to go down is TV shows that were written and had like all these high profile people that never even got a pilot.
Ooh.
Have you ever like seen those like threads on Reddit and stuff like that?
I have.
You go, wait, what? How did this not make air?
It's crazy.
It's absolutely insane.